What's up, everybody? Welcome to Kinda Funny Games Daily for Friday, April 1st, 2022. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside Forbes 30 Under 30, aka the future class of video games, aka the OK Beast, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Happy Friday, Greg. How many April Fool's jokes have gotten you so far?
It's the usual where the first one gets me. The first one of the day gets me. And do you know which one it was? Did you see me tweet it out today?
Was it Metacritic?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
Oh, I guess that one did get me.
Because that one was one that got me, where I was like, "What the fuck is happening here?" And I was like, "Oh wait, I see."
See, that one that was
It's
too
April
meta. I
1st.
didn't even think about that. I didn't even. I saw that Metacritic today said Cuphead's a bad game, and I was like, "What?" And then I was like, "I didn't." People were already yelling at me. I'm like, "I didn't say this," because everybody expects me to be fucking overbearing. I didn't even catch that. That was an April Fool's. That's a good one, but it's like that's so low key. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
For me, it was the one, and I shit you not, that got me so excited and then heartbroken when Spirit Halloween tweeted that they were going to open up some all year stores. I was like, "Yeah, oh fucking goddamn it, it's April 1st."
Oh, that's a really good one.
Fucking
Here's
April Fool's.
I don't know
Hey,
how I
hold on
feel
a
about
second.
April Fool's Day anymore. What's up, Kevin?
This one is not an April Fool's joke, though, right?
No,
That's
that's
real.
March
Super
3rd
Mario
one.
Sunshine is not good. No,
fuck
Metacritic
you
has spoken
guys.
on that one.
No,
I
that's
didn't say it.
accurate.
That's not.
I'm
That's
unfollowing
Metacritic.
Metacritic and I'm blocking it.
I don't know, man. I feel like they're spitting some facts there.
Kevin,
Super Mario
what
Sunshine
happened
is not a
to
fun
the
time.
marketplace of ideas and being challenged? You know what I mean? This is why you couldn't exist in a college class anymore, because you wouldn't be there for the debate.
I'd win that debate. You know what I mean?
I feel like I maybe it's this year specifically.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm jaded on April Fools. I want to be excited. I want to get hyped. I want to take part of the festivities. But now I see all these April Fools jokes on my timeline, which are a lot of them. And I don't know. Like I feel like maybe there's just an overabundance of them.
It's hard to say because I'm old. And so I do feel like the old person who's just done April Fools enough where I don't need to be a part of it. And I've seen it on the internet so much. But and I wasn't there when it happened originally, right? But some part of it is just like April Fools on the internet peaked with IGN's Zelda trailer. When they said when they went out of their way to make it a Zelda movie trailer and put it out. And like it was a time when not everyone on the internet did an April Fool's Day joke. But that one went so big that then it became a thing at IGN every year to do a giant tentpole April Fool's joke, which then I think runs it into the ground. And then everybody else chasing that. And if you followed me long enough, you know that I hate the term try hard. When somebody's like, Greg's a try hard at host or whatever. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course I'm trying hard. It's my fucking job and I love doing it, blah, blah, blah. You know, that kind of thing. Like, I don't like calling a person or a product like a show or whatever that's try hard. April Fool's Days pranks are the one time where I'm like, oof. Like you can see how hard someone tried at this thing that like comedy's so difficult that it was like there must have been other people in the room like, I don't know if this is the play. And then somebody's like, no, I got it. And it's going to work. And we're going to do this. Even like Stern's Pinball did a Frasier table today as a joke, right? Which I think is fucking hilarious. And like a lot of people are like, I would really buy this, blah, blah, blah. But the art was so bad for it. Like, who would look at this and say this is a real thing? You know what I mean? Now, granted, I bid on the fucking Spirit Halloween thing, so who knows? Maybe that's the thing, is that April Fool's has gotten so, like, I was talking about the shattered pane of glass. It's like, what's in your lane?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody wants it to take apart. And I think like it's also the thing of comedy is so subjective. And so like for me, I look at 90% of the April Fool's stuff on my timeline and I'm like, I don't know, man, this doesn't feel like it's aligned with what I find funny. But then I see like that 10%, right?
Yeah.
Where this morning Did You Know Gaming had, for me, what was a funny one, which they were like, oh yeah, we're changing our brand from Did You Know Gaming to Did You Know Boobs, and it's all gonna be like boob facts in video games. And so you go through it and they're like, yeah, and Dead or Alive, the higher you input your age at the start of the game, the more the boob physics are. And I read that and I was like, oh, that's funny. Okay, I like that. But then I'm like, I'm sure plenty of people don't find that funny. I'm sure plenty of people are like, I don't know, man, it's kind of lame. But that's how I react to like 90% of the other stuff that I see. And so like, maybe I think that's where I'm getting at in terms of the overabundance, where like my timeline is filled with it. And so much of it is like, oh, whatever. Either I don't get that joke or that joke's not for me or it's not something I find funny. And then also there's the thing of every single morning this week, I've been refreshing Twitter at the top of every hour, expecting some big news to drop. I'm like, what is PlayStation like? What is Project Spartacus did drop? But like, what else is PlayStation doing? Yeah. What is Greg hiding? And I keep refreshing. And today I kept refreshing, and it was like, it was always something wild and different from these different companies that they're putting out there. And I was like, you know what? I guess PlayStation's probably not going to announce anything today because it's literally April Fool's, and today would be the worst day to announce an acquisition or something crazy like that. And so I think April Fool's just kind of ruined my hype for like big announcements on this particular day also.
I just saw that like while we were in the meeting or I guess right before the meeting that Metacritic followed up with April Fools. Well, that's good. That's good. The cricket doesn't get enough credit for being clever. You know?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say the
It's
cricket has
not,
missed
it's
yet. I think the
dumb, it
one
has bad
the cricket
ideas.
hasn't missed at all. No.
I think there was one miss. I forget. I think it might have been Donkey Kong 64, where the cricket was like Donkey Kong 64 is not a good game. I think that was a miss. But besides that, I think the cricket's been spot on.
I mean, the cricket, like I said, it's got to get out there and say its piece. You know, it's got to be out there making things. I almost today. I want you to know. And when I say almost, I'm being, maybe I'm giving myself a little bit too much leeway there, Kevin. You understand? But I did this morning at some point, maybe when I was, I don't know, in the middle of the night burping Benjamin. I was thinking it's April Fool's Day. I thought about shaving off my beard. I thought about just being clean shaven today. And I was like, do I really then want to go through a month or whatever? I guess a couple weeks at this point.
In that case, you're the fool.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
I'm really just doing a joke on me because everybody's gonna be like, man, Greg's ugly.
And like that is something that lasts for months. Like you have to deal with the ramifications of that for the
See,
one
I think it
bit.
would go like when I grew it out, I remember it being like a solid month before it looked good, but that was like years ago. And I remember for Extra Life 2020, right, where we shaved it down into the mustache or whatever. That I remember growing back like real fast. So I don't think it would take me as long to grow it back anymore.
I have vivid memories of Tim shaving off all of his hair on his head.
Yeah.
For I think it was Extra Life.
That wasn't a good idea. That wasn't a good idea. But he did for the
and
big,
that was a
kids.
few months of like, oh man, every single time I'd sit down with Tim on KFG, I'd be like, man, you good? Like you look different.
Before we get into the show proper, I do have breaking news from the chat. MixSwiss87 says, "Bless, take the tea bag out." Are you oversteeping your tea right now or whatever?
Leave it. It's fine.
It's fine. Who cares?
He's in America. You can't oversteep bags in America. Lower altitude. Everybody knows that.
Exactly, Kevin.
You know what else people know? E3 is dead. Summer Game Fest lives, and the Division 2's got a new mode that's being shown, but it's all complicated. We'll talk about all this and more because this is Kinda Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday on a variety of platforms, we run you through the nerdy video game news you need to know about. If you like that, be part of the show. Patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames. Over on Patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames, you can write in to be part of the show. You can get the show ad-free. You can get it with the exclusive post show we do each and every weekday. But if you got no bucks to toss our way, it's no big deal. YouTube.com/KindaFunnyGames, RoosterTeeth.com, podcast services around the globe each and every weekday to get an episode, of course, chock full of ads, no post show. If you wanted some benefits, you could watch us record the show live for free on twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames. If you're watching live on Twitch, like OMJesus, King of Zero, Dylon 12, I don't know, I got that one. Didn't get all of that one. You have a special job. Go to KindaFunny.com/you're wrong. Tell us what we screw up as we screw it up so we can set the record straight. Remember, if you need another free way to support us, you can use the Epic creator code KindaFunny on the Epic Game Store or wherever you play Fortnite, Rocket League, or Fall Guys.
I heard that Dylon in chat spits hot fire.
Who said that? Nobody said that.
So it's a reference. The people that know, they know Greg. Don't worry.
Is this like Push and P? Is this one of those things?
This is Chappelle Show.
Really? Wait, well, yeah. I know Chappelle Show. What's the skit?
Yeah, it's like top 5 Dylon, and Dylon because I spit hot fire. That's like the bit. It's a reference to chat. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's like The Real World. It's a reference to like some MTV show where like they had a dude named Dylon who was like a rapper and he would talk about how like he was the greatest rapper. The band, Making the Band. Is that what it was? Making the Band. Yes.
Okay. Making the Band. When you did Real World, I was like, wait a second. I would know that. That doesn't matter. Housekeeping for you. Are you ready? It's April, which means it's a new platinum item for Patreon. And this month, it's the KFW Kinda Funny wrestling shirt. Kevin, toss it up. Show it. Of course, if you go to patreon.com/KindaFunny or patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames and support us anytime this month at the platinum level, you will get this physical reward, the KFW Kinda Funny wrestling shirt, to support me and Mike being a bunch of morons in making, well, I shouldn't say making, using Olive Party's created wrestlers. And then we got new people making. Did you see this TAM yesterday?
Dude, the TAM is ridiculous. I'm actually really jealous of the TAM. Was that Olive Party as well?
No. That was somebody who got encouraged to come off. And I'm sorry, I don't remember your name right now. I'm scrolling back through my stuff. There it is. That was Ken Leader. Kevin, I'm throwing this to you in the old Slackarooski. If you can throw this one up. As you know, we, of course, are having all of Kinda Funny do KFW, Kind of Funny Wrestling. My Twitch streams with Mike, which are now on Mondays, twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames, later on youtube.com/kindoffunnyplays, Olive Party, and then anybody who wants to in the Kind of Funny community are creating us in the game, and then we're using them in a fictional federation that me and Mike are going to commentate over. We have the world title. Ken Leader, or lighter maybe, made Tam here, and it's a fantastic Tam. If you are an audio listener, you owe it to yourself to click over to YouTube or go to my Twitter or Tam's Twitter or Ken's Twitter, which is Ken Lighter, LIETER, and see Tam's entrance here. If Kevin, when you're done here, you don't have to stop yet, but if you scroll down to the next tweet, he put in the different attires for Tam.
Yeah.
Like, and he's got the Metal Gear attire and the Bloodborne attire, and it looks dope as hell.
This is great. This is
really
like
not only is the Tam design spot on from like the face, the beard, and everything, but yeah, the outfit and the attire is sick because you do have the Bloodborne Hunter one on the far right, and then the 3 different Metal Gear outfits. I want this. This is dope as hell.
You can get it, of course, WWE 2K22. You can download, search for the hashtag KindaFunny. If you're making Kinda Funny people, put them up there. In the chat, Young Breezy Hunt says, I want to see a Janet. You can go to youtube.com/KindaFunnyPlays right now and see the last stream we did for KFW, the Day Zero stream, where Janet's character, made by Olive Party, is there wrestling and great. So get out there. Have some fun. This burp in me can't decide if it wants to come out or if it just wants to fuck up my speech the entire time. What are you doing, burp? Make up your mind. God damn it. Buy the platinum shirt. If that wasn't enough, PS I Love You XOXO is live right now. YouTube.com/KindaFunnyGames, RoosterTeeth.com, podcast services around the globe. Remember, maybe you didn't know, we've moved PS I Love You. We'll now record on Thursdays for Patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames, post on Fridays so it can catch you up on this week in PlayStation. The show's got a brand new format, and of course, we're talking about PlayStation Plus being PlayStation Plus, and then of course E3 being dead and what that means. So go check that out.
Can I say shout out to this morning's episode of PSW XOXO, because like I think whenever we switch to a new format, there's that level of nervousness of, all right, like we got to ease into it. We got to like figure out like what parts of this are going to be rough in terms of us like getting used to whatever the differences are in than the earlier version of the show. And I think like for this new episode, we absolutely nailed it. Like you especially absolutely nailed it in terms of, definitely check it out. Like you changed up the intro. It's definitely like, I don't know. I think it's a more like energetic and exciting way to start the show, but then also it still has the segments you love, right? Still topic of the show, still PlayStation updates, even though now we call it This Week in PlayStation because we're catching up on the week in PlayStation since we're toward the end of the week now. But like, I think it's one of the best episodes we've done, and I think like that's a very impressive feat, given that this is just a different version of the show that I think is going to be fresh going forward.
I think one of the things that works for it too is the fact that, yeah, it's a new format, which is really just a refined format from what we've done, but it really felt like what was different this time is that we all communicated as one. I think in before, like you and me Frankenstein the show, but rarely talk to each other about the show. Like we see what the other's doing and that's what it's going to be. And then, we pitch the segments around. Whereas this, we had a pre-production meeting with everybody, you, me, Janet, and Barrett. And it was like, here's what we want. We talked about what we like about the show, what we don't like about the show, what we want to do with it, what we don't want to do with it, what the new mission statement is for This Week in PlayStation. And I think that then going through and being like, we're going to put on the document, like times we want to be out of these segments. Like, we can hit them, we can not hit them. It doesn't matter. But like, we communicated in a way we don't, which I think actually helped really pre-program the show. And then saying at the top what we wanted, what we were going to talk about meant we actually hit it. So it was great. I agree. Everybody check it out. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Fargo, Brady, Pranksky, and Anonymous. Today we're brought to you. I'm sorry, let me do that with more gusto. Thank you to our Patreon producers for the first time in April, Fargo, Brady, Pranksky, and Anonymous. Today we're brought to you by Uplift Desk, but I'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin the show with what is and forever will be the Roper Report. Seven items on the Roper Report.
Baker's dozen.
Kevin, real quick, if I turned into, I'm 6'3", if I turned into a 6'3" long snake, you think I'd be able to pull it off and be cool? I'd be a big old boa constrictor, right? And I can still talk.
I mean, do you have your regular intelligence?
Yeah.
Do you still need to wear glasses?
Yeah, of course. Those are trademarks.
Yeah. People really like. I feel like if you're a giant snake with glasses, people will trust you.
Did I miss something? Where'd this come from?
I just did it like this. Evolved. I was acting like a snake a little bit down here,
Okay.
In my head, I was being very snake-like,
That was such a left turn. And the fact that Kevin had an answer for you so quickly.
Bless
I
you,
was
do
like,
you
did I
mind-
miss
can you-
something? Did I miss a
Bless-
sentence there?
I'm sorry to stop you. Can you just stop wasting time? Can we talk about video games? You know what I
Oh
mean?
my god.
I just like hanging
Let's
out
get
with
to
you.
it. So many people want
I
to
love
hear
hanging
like
out
you
with you
talk.
too. You know what I mean? Are you coming over for WrestleMania this weekend? What are we doing? We mentioned that a long time ago.
Wait, is that happening? Are you doing?
I think I mentioned it as I did the thing where we were having a different. I think we were wrestling on the stream or something, and I threw it out as in a way that could have been interpreted as a joke. But if you want to come over and watch some wrestling this weekend, you let me know.
I'm down. Let's do it.
Number one on the Roper Report.
I guess
Sorry,
it's WrestleMania. Never mind. I was asking if it was on Sunday, but WWE pay per view.
it's one of those 2 nights things. But I know tomorrow's or Achievement Hunter live, so I mean I know you can't come because you're going to that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like Sunday probably then. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Anyways, number one. E3 2020 has been canceled officially again. This is Rebecca Valentine over at IGN. After previously canceling its in-person E3 2022 event, the ESA has now informed its partners that there will be no digital event equivalent this year either, meaning E3 2022 has fully been canceled. The news broke via a tweet from Razer PR lead Will Powers, who said that an email has been sent out announcing the cancellation of the digital E3 event. IGN has independently verified the contents of the email as well. The ESA had initially planned for an in-person E3 event this year after having no event in 2020 due to COVID-19 and a digital one in 2021. However, this was canceled in January, with the ESA at the time unable to make a public statement on whether or not there would be a digital equivalent. According to sources speaking to IGN at the time, discussions around E3 have been fraught throughout the year, with third parties normally involved finding the ESA's ongoing silence regarding their plans frustrating. Sources connected to the event tell IGN that discussions about a possible digital equivalent have been ongoing ever since, but without strong momentum to drive them. Instead, the ESA seems to be making plans to regroup for a larger comeback in 2023. Update. The ESA has shared an official statement with IGN confirming E3 2022's cancellation and announcing that I don't know why I want to put a Z in there. You ever do that? You say words a real weird way?
It does seem like a word that could be pronounced as
Cancellation.
cancellation, but no, yeah, you're
Cancellation.
there. Cancellation. You got it.
Kind of like roof, you know?
Mm-mm.
We go up on the
saying
roof,
that
fix my
wrong.
house.
It's roof. It's definitely roof.
But here's the
Roof.
thing about that is what I want you to know. You know how like the East Coast people say Mario, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it sounds normal to them.
Yeah, but
when
we
I
make
say
fun of
roof,
them.
well, I know, and I'm not saying I shouldn't be
But
made
also,
fun
like,
of.
I kind of like Mario. Like, I know it's wrong, but like,
Nah,
I've started
yeah.
saying it that way because it's kind of it has some swag to it. Roof
not sa-
just sounds like you're from the Midwest.
But so all I'm driving to, the only point I want to make to get back to the story from Rebecca Valentine at IGN is that when I say roof, I don't think I'm saying roof wrong. You know, like I say roof, and I think I'm saying until you guys started making fun of me for that, I had no idea I said roof weird.
It's so weird.
It is so weird.
We will devote all our energy and resources to delivering a revitalized physical and digital E3 experience next summer. Whether enjoyed from the show floor or your favorite devices, the 2023 showcase will bring the community, media, and industry back together in an all-new format and interactive experience. We look forward to presenting E3 to fans around the world live from Los Angeles in 2023. The ESA adds that the 2022 showcase has been canceled so the organization can focus its resources on the 2023 show. Now, usually I would jump right in, Bless, and get your reactions, but this is one of those stories that broke, obviously, at like, I don't know, 11:30 noon yesterday, it feels like, right after Games Daily was wrapped. So I'd rather bring in the fact that number 2 on the Roper Report, Summer Game Fest lives. Shortly after all this shit happened and went live, Geoff Keighley wasted no time stepping up to the plate, calling his shot and hitting a home run. He tweets, excited to share that Summer Game Fest will return this June with a slate of events. We'll be producing another kickoff live show with announcements, news, and first looks. Much more to share in the coming weeks, along with some very cool elements for 22. And then, of course, there was a June 2022 image. If that wasn't enough, it was called out on Twitter later on from the Summer Game Fest FAQ. This is Summer Game Fest a show. Summer Game Fest 2022 will feature a slate of digital live stream shows, including a spectacular live kickoff show hosted by Geoff Keighley, filled with world premieres, and Day of the Devs with I Am 8-Bit and Double Fine. The kickoff show will be followed by a series of TBA events from game publishers and platforms. Stay tuned for more details. Blessing.
Greg.
You have a Telltale choose your own adventure in here.
Mm-hmm.
You can start with if you want a mourn E3. All right, that's your first option here. Option number 1, do you want a mourn E3? Talk about the fact that you always wanted to go to one and all this stuff, and you've never gotten, and COVID robbed you of it and all that shit. You could then, if you don't want to do that, you could go and talk about, is this Summer Game Fest going to be the Game Fest that knocks it out of the park and becomes this and Geoff Keighley's thing? Or you go the third and answer the question: is the ESA batshit fucking crazy to think they're coming back in 2023?
So okay, that's actually where I wanted to start. Like as you're reading through the story, that's exactly what I highlighted in the doc. I was like, we got to get back to that part because that was the part that I hadn't seen yet that I think was breaking up maybe later yesterday or during this morning, which is the ESA adding that, hey, we're taking our 2022 showcase, that we're canceling that, we're focusing our resources on the 2023 show. Is there going to be a 2023 show? I think that is the big question. You know, like getting back to the part of morning E3. You know, it is sad, right? It's sad the fact that for me, and I'm sure for many people as video game fans growing up, you see E3. I think my first time learning about E3 might have been like around 2011, 2012. It was like through me watching Spike TV and seeing E3 showcases that way. Yeah, and it was like, I think like one of the early E3 showcases I remember watching was like when they were announcing Wonder Book at PlayStation, and maybe it was like a year or so before that where I like first started being aware of what E3 was. But ever since then, like I would start to watch yearly and I would get very excited and I'd be like, oh shit. Like it felt like an event. It felt like oh man, they're announcing all the games. Let's lock in. Like, let's get excited about this crazy thing that's happening. And E3's kind of always been that, but it's lost steam in recent years because the ecosystem's been changing. Companies have been realizing that they don't necessarily need E3 to get their announcements out there, right? You have PlayStation pulling out in recent years. You have Nintendo having Nintendo Direct, and like they're still participating in E3 proper in terms of having having a presence on the show floor. But you're seeing different companies have to take different approach or realize they can take different approaches to announcing and showing off their games. Yeah. And then with the pandemic, for an E3 that was already kind of waning in terms of what do we want to be? How do we be what we want to be in a world that's changing, becoming more digital? Going through the pandemic and having companies really have to figure out, all right, we're Ubisoft. There's not E3 in 2020. What are we going to do? Let's do Ubisoft Forward. And let's do that multiple times a year because turns out that works well for us, right? Like you have Ubisoft do that. You have what was it? Not the Nug Dome, the actual dome. You have the actual dome happen.
DC Fandom, bro.
Yeah, the DC Fandom where you get the Gotham Knights announcement and the Suicide Squad announcement, right? Like you have these different outlets and these different places where companies go to. You have EA Play happen, hosted by Greg Miller and then Xavier Woods, right? Like
okay, no. Mm-hmm. Hosted by Greg Miller twice, killed by Xavier Woods. All right, killed by Xavier Woods.
Killed by Xavier Woods. You have these companies find their own ways to do things, and it becomes this thing of now as we're approaching a now canceled E3 2022. I think the question becomes why? Like, what is the purpose of doing an event? One, if it's going to be digital, because I assume digital makes way less money because you don't have people paying to come out. You don't have a show floor that developers are going to fork up money for, right? Like a lot of money for too. Like it takes a lot of money, or it costs a lot of money for developers to participate in E3, right? Like you're losing out on that. You're losing out on fans and press and all these people coming out. And now you are all right, let's be digital. Let's get Greg Miller and Michael Hyam and these folks to host our events, but have it be a more low-key thing that is now competing with Summer Games Fest, is now competing with like other presentations. E3, I think, has been losing its identity year after year after year after year, and now that they're canceled this year, I think that identity might be on the verge of being fully lost and taken over by Geoff Keighley. I think Geoff Keighley is on the verge of like giving the killing blow to E3, and that's going to be determined, I think, by the next year or two.
Yeah, I think everything you said is correct. And I just think the cat's out of the bag. I think that everybody has been forced by COVID and then by, just E3 going away to figure out how to do this. And they've done it. Like, do any of these publishers think that game access, game information was hampered by the way they did this? Like, I would think no, right? And even, and I'm speaking on my ass and, whatever, even for the smaller games, like, I think indies get a better chance to shine the way Microsoft and PlayStation use them now, let alone a smaller showcases like, when we did KindaFunny Game Showcase or the Wholesome Games Showcase or the Mix Showcases, the Guerrilla Collective. Like, there's so many ways to show your games. And E3 was about getting people in one place to see them in a world when the internet and digital games and digital access and demos weren't a real thing. And to the point now where it's like, if getting someone to play your game is that big of a deal, of course there's Parsec, of course there's these different things, there's guided demos, you can send videos on demand, like the amount of demos recently that I've been trying to book for, they'll hit me up and be like, hey, we're doing hands-off demo Q&A with the developers afterwards. I'm like, I'd be interested in that, but the timing doesn't work, yada yada yada. After the fact, they just send me the archive that I can watch whenever I want to watch it. Like, that makes so much sense. And there's always going to be a place for preview events and live events and getting your hands on an actual game. I still can't talk about it. There's an embargo coming up, but like I went and played Evil Dead, the game, right? And like that's a game that's 4v1, so it's cool to be in the same room as people. But I also think I could have done that on Parsec and not lost too much from it.
I did the same thing for Bugsnax, right? Which I can talk about because the embargo's already been up. But like I did that for the Isle Big Snacks DLC, and that was at GDC, and that was me, showing up to a room, sitting down, them demoing the game for me for about an hour, and having that experience. I could have done that from home. I could have done that from Discord. They could have, if they wanted to, like in a world where we wouldn't have been able to do that, they probably would have just made a build on PC that they could have sent me, and I could have demoed it that way.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's so many other options that are outside of showing up to this big E3 event, where press would have to do it that way.
Yeah. And so I think it's, E3, I mean, how many years, and I'm talking about like not even kind of funny years, to go to IGN, have people and us been talking about E3 is dead, or how's it going to go, or will it keep going? And I think, it sucks that COVID exacerbated that, but it did. And it really did lead to a revolution in the way companies talk to you, the consumer, and us, the press, in a way that I don't think it matters to have that giant convention show floor, everybody there. That was awesome and that was fun, but you get the same kind of experience in terms of hobnobbing from a GDC, from a Game Awards if you're at the top level, from a DICE, from a whatever. Not to mention that, Geoff continues to also, Geoff Keighley has 3 tentpoles now, right? Summer Game Fest, which I guess you could put it into the same tentpole bucket, but Summer Game Fest, opening night live in Germany, and then Game Awards. Yeah. And so like you can still be doing that business in Germany if that's what you want to do on that level and have people play it. But and I don't know, man. Like, I think the cat's out of the bag. I think developers and publishers understand they can go do this. And I think that for years I had heard horror stories about the ESA and who they were and how they charged or how they didn't work for the industry, yada, yada, yada. And I know since they banned me, and then since I hosted last year's E3, there had been a huge shakeup, a huge change. The ESA isn't the same ESA it was before, but I also think the ESA is an organization that necessarily doesn't serve a purpose as much anymore.
Yeah, and I like, my question is, how much do they get it? And that's a question for you, because I think you know more about the ESA than I do. Like, how much do they get it versus a Geoff Keighley, who, like, on one hand, I'm looking at, there was a chat that passed by a while ago. It was from Owl Season, who said here, can someone explain to me the difference between E3 and Summer Games Fest? And I think that alone is kind of telling from the audience perspective of how much does E3 even matter in terms of the mind of the consumer when the summer is just filled with events, right? Like, yeah. If E3 is not happening, you're still going to get Summer Games Fest kickoff, probably. You're still going to get opening night live. You're still going to get Game Awards later in the year. You're still going to get all these. You're still going to get a PlayStation State of Play, or a PlayStation, big presentation where they announce all their big games, right? You're going to get an Xbox showcase. You're going to get all these things, all these events that are going to announce all these exciting big games that are coming up, and you do not need E3 for that. So from the audience perspective, E3 is already waning. And of course, like, this is as far as like the question of what is the difference between E3 and Summer Games Fest, that's of course going to differ for how long you've been paying attention and like how closely you pay attention, right? And like the actual answer is the ESA throws E3, which is a physical event that then associates themselves with Microsoft, with other big companies, to then, like, the announcements at the Xbox Game Showcase aren't technically E3. E3 is like what that ushers into in terms of like the show floor and people being able to demo games and play all these things. But Xbox will call it their E3 showcase or their E3 press conference, because that's kind of what it's leading into. Like, is that right, Greg?
Yeah, like, I mean, like, E3 was originally started as a way to have publishers, and this is long before indies were really a thing, right? So publishers show their games to retailers, so retailers knew what to order, and then press got to come in and do that marketing cycle and yada yada. And then so over time, yeah, it's done what you're talking about, where Microsoft or PlayStation or Nintendo would do these E3 press conferences, but they were actually before the E3 show floor even opened. They were like the precursors, the preamble, the opening ceremonies to the Olympics, if you will. And then the show floor would open and you'd get all this stuff there. And over the years, it all evolved and changed. And then, you're talking about like Microsoft calling it their E3 showcase, but then, in years later, not just Microsoft, other people kind of backed off that, even though it was their presentation. It was this whole thing, but it was this idea that, I mean, it's an idea from a bygone era, obviously, when video games weren't the number one entertainment medium and, making millions of dollars in hand over fist or whatever. But it was this idea of like, cool, as an industry, we all need to unify and have all eyes on us for this 1 week. This was always the big deal, where I remember being at IGN in 2007, 2008, 2009. And like, the E3 presentations at the time were designed for USA Today because they want PlayStation and Xbox and everybody wanted to be on the cover of USA Today. They wanted to be mainstream. This is the one time a year outside of the Christmas rush that you could be on the Today Show of what was going on, right? And even to go to the ESA's website right now, right? When you click on what is the ESA or whatever, we are the ESA. The Entertainment Software Association serves as the voice and advocate for the video game industry. Our mission is to expand and protect the dynamic worldwide marketplace of video games. Who are we? The ESA is where the major players of the video game industry work together to support the bright future of video games. The ESA has an unmatched track record in protecting the industry's First Amendment rights at both the federal and state levels. It's like, oh, you're an advocacy group, right? And I know this obviously, but to try to paint it right, like it's this coalition, right, that is trying to take care of games, but also, when there was stuff in Congress or there was these things, they'd be the group out there lobbying for things and doing that kind of stuff. And I think you said, to jump way back to your point, now that I've given a little bit of information here, right? You said, do they get it? Does the ESA get, and I think you mean like where we are in time, what EA3 is, what the world needs out of an E3 or digital event, right? And I would tell you flat out, no. Because think about where we are and how we exist and what all this is, right? If you want to know about Summer Game Fest, where do you go? You go to Geoff Keighley's Twitter. Geoff Keighley, so news breaks, Geoff tweets about it. It is right there to have a commentary on it and do stuff and say stuff. If I asked you right now, if you want to know what the ESA's reaction to any of this is, who do you go to? Who do you go to on Twitter? Where do you go? What do you do? The ESA is still existing as a faceless organization that wants to be, I would assume, and I don't mean pulling strings in a bad way, but pulling strings and operating and making all these things happen for the video game industry. But the video game industry is so independent, so large, so sweeping that does Microsoft need the ESA? You know what I mean? Do any of these people, does PlayStation need the ESA to go out there and speak for them? No, because Phil Spencer speaks for Microsoft. And if we're talking about, the lobbying or going and talking, I think there's enough people who could go speak to that front and do it, not to mention the American political system's entirely broken. So would it even help? Is all posturing and doing whatever. I think if the ESA wants to still be hey, we're the lobby group and we're this and we're out there protecting First Amendment rights, great. You can do that and not run a trade show anymore. Yeah. Clearly that was your moneymaker, and you don't need to worry about that.
And I think that the thing that still kind of props the idea of E3 up is the fact that there is something nice in terms of having a week where everybody comes together to have a big marketing event, right? There's something nice about Xbox participating and being able to be the big guys on the block and flex Game Pass, flex Halo, flex all their big games, and then on the opposite end, indie developers being able to come through and be like, all right, cool. All eyes are on E3. Now let's announce our indie game and have people pay attention to it and have people get excited for it in the way that this is separate from E3, but it's the same idea. During the PlayStation PS5 reveal event where we got Spider-Man Miles Morales and we got Horizon Forbidden West, right? And we got all these big games. We also got announcements for Stray. We also got announcements for, I think Solar Ash was there. We got announcements for these other games that were a bit smaller, but get hyped up and get excited because they get looped in with these things. And now there's a story created, right? Now PlayStation is able to talk about the next couple of years after that and go, cool, you're getting Miles, you're getting Stray, you're getting Solar Ash, you're getting Horizon, you're getting Kena Bridge of Spirits, and it's all in the same breath, and they all carry some sort of level of this is the PlayStation identity, right? I think in terms of marketing, having that 1 week where everybody comes through and everybody promotes their game together and having this trade show that then press comes down to and be able to preview and do all these things. I think that is the value of E3 that E3 could still hold, but I think Geoff Keighley wants to come through and take that away from E3 and have him be the source of that. I think that is kind of the idea of having Summer Games Fest, not Opening Night Live, Summer Games Fest kickoff, which is the one that happens that first week of June, right?
Yeah.
I think that having that week is him trying to fill in that void of, all right, if E3's not able to do it, I'll Thanos style put my hand in the gauntlet and I'll do it myself. And then you have Opening Night Live, which is Gamescom, which is another time that happens. You have Game Awards, which is the end of the year, which is the perfect time for that to happen, right? I think Geoff Keighley is being very methodical about it, and he's been setting the bricks very nicely for it. Where last Summer Games Fest kickoff, you had Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, right? That partnership with Gearbox, I'm sure, is big for him. You have Elden Ring, right, which is one of the biggest games of this year. And that's not surprising because it's Geoff Keighley and he's done the Game Awards and they've had exciting announcements. But him being able to have 3 events now, like 3 big events during the year that have that level of excitement and that level of hype, I think is huge. And I think he's kind of in a really great place right now to come
Oh my
through in the
God.
next year or so and be like, cool, I'm the new E3 now, right? Like, I'm gonna do my own Judges Week for Summer Games Fest. I'm gonna maybe not this year, but like when the time is right, right? Like maybe even do a physical event that press could come down to in demo games if they wanted to, right? But do it way differently from the ESA in like a smaller form. I'm sure Geoff could figure all that stuff out and make it happen.
And he will. I mean, that's the thing, is it's Geoff Keighley's world and we just live in it. Like yes, you're right. Geoff has been methodical about this and he's slowly taken it over. And I think it's for the best, because does the ESA get it? Fuck no. Does Geoff Keighley get it? Fuck yeah. And it's that thing we talked a little bit on PSILY, right? Of like Geoff Keighley. I believe in Geoff Keighley. Geoff has a great head on his shoulders. He loves games the way we love games, but he also loves helping developers showcase their games and do that. And so like at the end of every Game Awards, when he tweets out like, I want all your feedback, good, bad, and the other, he wants that. And he makes those changes based on it. And so back to it, you know, of like this Summer Game Fest, I don't expect this Summer Game Fest to be the one that is like, we look at it and go, that was perfect. I'm hoping though, with the ESA like rolling over and playing dead on it, that if you were on the fence about trusting Geoff now, you're not. Because what I don't want the Thanos snap he does the first event. I want everybody to turn to Geoff and be like, cool, we want to do this showcase, Geoff. Where would it make sense to fit? And he sits there and programs it and tells, you know, okay, cool. So I know PlayStation's going this day. We're going to kick off here. PlayStation's going that day. You guys should go there. And so it is this thing of like, what the worst part about all the showcases last year in 2020, right? Where when we got a month and a half in and you started seeing games double dip or triple dip. And it was like, all right, it's hard to keep my excitement up for this entire press conference.
How many times do we see Tribes of Midgard? Like Tribes of Midgard was at like 5 different presentations. And I think it's Summer Games Fest currently is far from perfect, but I think it is going to be an iterative process, because what Geoff Keighley's trying to do is something that is like big, right? And I think that's going to take a lot of growth for him. It's going to take a lot of growth for Summer Games Fest, and it's going to take a lot of feedback. And I think it's going to take him having a bit more control. I think that's been the biggest thing with Summer Games Fest, is that he's just not had control. A lot of it has been him attaching his name to things where I'm like, does Xbox even know they're part of Summer Games Fest, or are you just saying this, right? Like, does Ubisoft Forward know they're part of Summer Games Fest, or are you just attaching your name to this? I think when there is a when there's a gap where the ESA and E3 are absent, I think then Geoff starts to get more power and starts to be able to have those conversations a bit more, right? Like,
right.
In a perfect world for Geoff, I think Xbox and Ubisoft and whatever other showcase come to him and go, all right, we want to let's all be a part of this calendar, and let's all be a part of this formalized Summer Games Fest madness. And Geoff is able to make that happen. Geoff is able to make those decisions and go, all right, you Xbox, you are in June. Ubisoft, you are in July. Nintendo, you're later in June, right? And be able to lay that out there. But I think for companies that are that big and companies that like, I don't know, don't want to like allow their whole marketing plan to be up to one man, I think that's still going to be a difficult thing. Like, I don't know.
I don't think it needs to be up to one man as much as it just needs to be like, hey, Geoff, you're air traffic control on this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's go there. I don't think he needs to do everything and have it. I think that, you know, you talked about like, does Xbox know they're part of Summer Game Fest? Because when Summer Game Fest initially got announced, we're like, oh, Geoff's running everything. And then it was like, oh no, Geoff's building a thing around it. In the same way we live react to things. We just call them live reactions and whatever. We put our shows on them. Geoff was doing that on Summer Game Fest and trying to make a hub that was like in some ways a big Google Calendar of what was going on. I think just having a little bit of oversight to talk about it and letting him be the gaming czar helps. And I don't think it needs to be a super formalized thing of like he plans every show and does everything, but letting him be involved with that and go. We've gone a long time on this one. Obviously, it's the biggest story of the day. Don't matter. Gaming Owl Seasons says, would ESA and the E3 work in partnership with Summer Game Fest, or is there bad blood there? The ESA and E3, sure, they would love to be part of Summer Game Fest. They would love to do that. Geoff Keighley would not in 100 million years, because if you remember in 2020, before everything went to hell, right? Before the pandemic went to hell, it was when Geoff was like, I can't be a part of E3. I've seen what they're doing, and I just can't. After, I think he said 25 years or whatever it was, I forget. After an absorbent amount of time, I can't be a part of this, and yada, yada, yada. And the pandemic took care of it. But since then, like, why would Geoff go back to that, right? Like, Geoff's got his own thing now. He's out from underneath the thumb of the ESA, and he can do whatever he wants with it. So no, I don't think he would ever do that. And then I want to double back, because BJ Bernardo wrote into something you said, Bless. Do you think, or do you see E3 returning when it can as an in-person event, hopefully next year? Will Mr. Keighley's Summer Games add an in-person event next year? I am of the belief And I'd love to be wrong because I love E3 and I love going to LA and I love hanging out and I love seeing game stuff. I don't think E3 comes back from this. I don't think ESA is able to come back from this. I don't think
Really?
I don't think there'll be another E3. No, like as we were joking about at the top, right? Where they're like, we want to double down and focus our resources on the 2023 show. God willing, there is a 2023 show, and Greg Miller's hosting it. And I'm doing one of my favorite things. That's part of my job, which is talking to developers about games they're excited for. That's what I love to fucking do. I hope it's there. I hope it works. I do not see how that could happen. I do not see how the ESA is like going to be able to get people that want to do this, because again, like, cool, you've had to do this on your own for basically 3 years. There was a showcase last year for E3, right? But like, basically, it's been this thing. What service are like if the ESA shows up and they're like, hey, so we're doing this thing and we'd like you to be on it and we want some money. And they're like, why would I give you money? I hired in the 3 years since E3 has been gone for all intents and purposes, I've hired this team that makes videos and makes content and does showcases. And, you know, Jeff's doing his thing and KindaFunny is going to do in the blah, blah, blah. Like, there's all these different things of like, why would I turn over and partner with you on this? Well, the reach, well, I can get the reach somewhere else. Like, people are now used to tuning into Twitch and watching these things and catching it later. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I agree. I think the one thing is, I think there will be an event in 2023, but I think it's going to be bad. I think it's going to be a sucky event for all the reasons that you're talking about. I think the partnerships aren't going to be there.
Just content, right? Yeah.
I think the content's not going to be there. I think they make the partnerships that they can and like try to make it happen, because like E3 is ESA's baby. And I think they're gonna go for it, and I think it's gonna be such a thud, and I think that'll be directly then compared to whatever Geoff or whoever else is doing, and people will look to that and go, oh well, I'll just tune into Summer Games Fest instead, or I'll just tune into PlayStation's thing or Ubisoft's thing, you know, because it's either they're gonna be doing it by themselves or they're gonna be doing it with Geoff. And I think the thing is, it's what you're talking about of what have you done for me lately? And ESA hasn't really done much for people lately in terms of like real practical tangible, like, all right, like this is why I need you. I think they've kind of lost that in recent years.
And then do you think that there'll be a in-person Summer Game Fest next year?
I think there'll be a Judges Week. I think they'll do that, because like Geoff Keighley, he ran Summer's Week for E3, if I'm correct, right?
Correct. So if longtime listeners remember, both for me at KindaFunny and then when IGN did it, there used to be an event called Judges Week, which was in May, which is, you know, usually a month before E3. Press would go down there, judges would go down there, and judges would be like, you know, a representative from all the different outlets that would go down there and play stuff ahead of time, so it wouldn't get lost in the E3 shuffle. That way they could, you know, smaller games usually, that when E3 comes around, that number one, you could talk to your outlet about it, but more importantly for the official E3 awards, which then evolved into now what the Game Awards judging panel is, right? Like, you could go down and do that thing and understand what's going on.
Yeah, so I think there will be that. I think beyond that, there would have to be some kind of partnership with Geoff and like REDPop or Geoff, or some kind of company that knows how to do, like, it doesn't have to be an expo, right? It doesn't have to be PAX, but I think if you're doing a physical event, there is way more work that needs to be put into that than a showcase. Like, you have to know how to produce, and you have to know how to like put together a team and all this stuff to do a showcase. But when you're talking about flying people out and having a day 1, day 2, like go around, you know, talk to these developers, get the demos in, that is a Herculean task that I don't know if Geoff has in him with his resources right now. But I think if he partners up with a bigger organization that does do that kind of thing, then it'll happen. But I don't know if it's going to be the Summer Games Fest showcase. I think it'll be here's PAX Big, or like here's like, so PAX Big is a terrible name, but here's like some kind of event that now Geoff Keighley is connecting himself to as a cool, this is where you go for the Summer Games Fest demos and showcases and stuff.
Because we can't stop talking about this, you know what I mean? Because it's just impossible or whatever. There's something going through here that I want to address, of course, right? In Simpatico 115 says, every reason it doesn't make sense to participate in 3 stands for Summer Game Fest. I completely disagree with you. And especially as we're talking forward of a next year thing, right? Because, you know, I was talking about like, you come to, and I'm not even trying to at all front, like I know the details of how this works. Stick with me though, okay? ESA comes and he's like, hey, we're doing E3 2023. Give us X amount of dollars and you can be a part of it and have your showcase. Why would I do that? Like, what's your reach? What are you doing? I can do this on my own or partner up with like an IGN or whoever for free and have some of that stuff in there, right? If it was the other way around, Geoff Keighley comes to you and says, as he does, hey, come be a part of Summer Game Fest, kick off live. it's X amount of dollars to do that, people are going to go, yes, as Blessing and Greg just said, you get it. You have a presence. You can make hype. You can generate hype for shit. Can the ESA generate hype for what they're doing? And I say this is the man who hosted their live show before, right? Like, it was that thing of no one understood what we were doing because they weren't making it clear beforehand. And I'm just the host there. I'm not the producer. I'm not the, like, you know, this isn't a kind of funny thing where I'll build the fucking show in front of you. It was like, all right, cool, we're gonna go down there and basically do that. But I was the one saying that on shows because their press releases weren't making that clear. And so you jump to deadline.com from December 20th, 2021, Alexandra Del Rosario. The Game Award reaches new viewership high with 85 million live streams. I don't know what the ESA E3 live show that I hosted, what their numbers were. It was not 85 million live streams. Geoff Keighley gets to come show that number and go, this is what I'm talking about. I will cut a hype reel that will go out days, if not weeks before to promote you're there. You will get a tweet. You will get this. You will get that information, right? Like, did E3 handle any of that well for 2021 as the host of the show? Again, I would say no. Like, I was the one who was like getting asked, not even on interviews, random podcasts I was doing for Kinda Funny. People would want me to explain what the show was or what I knew was going to be there. And then it's that thing of like, well, I didn't produce it. I don't know what's unannounced, what's not announced, blah, blah, blah. Like, Geoff is on another level in terms of promotion. Like, if you're giving Geoff money to show your thing, to sell your ad, to do whatever, you understand what's going to happen and where you're going to see that go in a way you wouldn't actually see with ESA and E3. I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sick of advertising Geoff Keighley. Instead, I'll advertise patreon.com/kindafunnygames. Over on patreon.com/kindafunnygames, you can write in to be part of the show. You can get the show ad-free. You can get it with the post show we do each and every weekday. However, for right now, the big thing is that you could get the show ad-free. But guess what, Jack? You're not watching on patreon.com/kindafunnygames. So here's a word from our sponsor.
Shout out to Uplift for sponsoring this episode. I've been using my Uplift desk for well over a year now. I love the thing so much I decided to write a rap song for them. The build quality is real good. It's made of real high quality wood. They didn't ask for it, I just did it anyway. Getting my Uplift desk immediately improved my mood. Whenever I'm on shows, I'm standing up, I'm feeling a lot more energetic. And also I kind of feel like I was just maybe creating some bad habits sitting down at a desk all day. I would move my legs up, I'd sit underneath my legs on my chair, and eventually all that stuff just created really bad back pain for me. Choose from laminate, whiteboard, bamboo, solid wood, butcher block, or even custom solid wood or laminate options. Uplift Desk won New York Times Wirecutter's Best Standing Desk from 2019 to 2022. And while I'm at it, I'm just gonna give them an award as well. Best standing desk that I use in my bedroom from when they sent it to me until now. Uplift Desk have a 15-year warranty. They ship the same day you order with free shipping and free return shipping. So if you've been feeling the effects of sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day, maybe you want some more energy in your life, maybe you want to do squats in the middle of a Zoom call or something, uplift your life. Go to kindafunny.com/uplift.
I love how the Twitch chat loves the Andy ad because it's so out of the blue and so weird and Andy-like. That makes me happy.
What if we just made every ad an Andy ad?
I would love that if Andy just got to read all the ads. Don't worry about it. Even though I like mine because I've been using the teleprompter and I just did next week's one and I think it was for, DoorDash. And so like I'm reading the script and then I pause the teleprompter to just talk about how much I love DoorDash and I restart the teleprompter. I do fun stuff too. But the problem is when you're Greg Miller, you've been doing it for 15 years, people are just used to it. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Andy usually comes on a podcast, sits there like a bump on a pickle, doesn't say anything. So he actually does something. People are like, fuck, Andy's
When was the last time Andy even did an ad? Is that the first time? I've never seen Andy do an ad in his life.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure he's done it. Yeah, he's done it. He's done Uplift stuff before. I've seen
Has he?
Uplift stuff
Okay.
before.
I've not done an ad in a while. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of missed it a little bit.
You got
I don't miss it enough to tell you guys.
Kevin, go put him on the thing for next week right now.
That's what I was scared of. I didn't know you
number 3 on the Roper Report, Halo Infinite is going to feature content from the TV series. This is Gene Park over at Washington Post. Halo Infinite will someday feature content and cross-marketing with the Paramount Plus TV series, according to 343 Industries. I just want to point out, at some point, I'm going to lose weight. Just let you know, someday it's going to happen. In an interview with the Washington Post in early March, 343 community director Brian Gerard said the team is looking at ways to feature the show within the game's universe. Quote, we have some content that is inspired by the show that will be coming out in the game a little bit further down the road, Gerard said, with no timetable specified. The long-awaited second season of Halo Infinite arrives May 3rd. 343 Industries is expected to ramp up communication on the new content during the season. Time will tell whether the studio is able to create assets from the show into the game on top of the other core issues that fans have been waiting to see addressed, including player complaints of a lack of content and desync issues that have messed up player timing. Seasons in live service games typically last a handful of months. The first season of Halo Infinite, however, will have lasted 6 months by May 3rd, as unusual amount of time in the marketplace. By contrast, Fortnite updates new seasons every 3 months. Halo Infinite launched with the promise of speeding up seasonal updates, and Staten said work on the third season is also underway. Obviously, I cut out a whole bunch of stuff from this article because of time, and then also you know a lot about Halo already. Blessing, have you watched Halo, the TV show? Okay. Any plans to ever?
No, I'm not interested from one. I just don't really care about the Halo story that much. When I'm playing Halo, I'm usually just playing the multiplayer. Like I like the shooting mechanics. I like the multiplayer deathmatch modes. But then also like this seems like it's not getting the best reviews. It seems like it's very fine.
Yeah,
Which for me is like, if I'm gonna watch a Halo TV show, I need it to be more than fine, and so it seems like it's very much a very skippable one to me. I think this story is interesting because like I never even thought about the crossover that could happen between the Halo Infinite game and the Halo TV show. That's not something that crossed my mind. I'm sure if you're a fan, you're like, yeah, where is the Halo TV show content in the game? But right now, I'm focused on like, all right, when's the game gonna get more content? Period. Like, when is the game gonna get exciting again? Because
I was gonna say, well, you played it at launch, right? Have you gone back any at all?
no, like I played a lot that first month, and I was having a blast with it. And when they did start to like cycle in modes and cycle in like they had the Fiesta mode, which I was in love with, and they went and made that permanent, and they were doing stuff like that I thought was awesome in that first month. But then I think for me, what was the thing that brought it down was like there was like a handful of maps that I just didn't like. Like some of the bigger maps I thought were kind of rough. And I would get those enough to where I'm like, okay, I'm not into it. And then also like I felt like I had played enough of the same maps in the same modes to where I was just like, okay, I'm done with this. You know, like I had a good first month, but I'll wait for more content to come through, and more more exciting content didn't come through for me, and so like I just didn't feel the need to go back. I think the other thing for me would be that if my friends were to go back and play it, but that's also the thing is, you know, I don't think Snow Mike has been going back to Halo. I don't think Andy's been going back to Halo. My friends Rihanna and Danny, I would play Halo with them as well, and they've not gone back to Halo. Like we've just been going back to Apex to play that. And so yeah, like Greg, one day I'm gonna do my taxes. Someday.
Okay, I was gonna say for the record, that's not a funny joke. You gotta get on that.
I know it's April 18th is the deadline. I'm doing it this weekend.
Okay, cool. I appreciate that. Number 4 on the Roper Report. Speaking of the U.S. government, senators are weighing in on the Activision Blizzard Xbox acquisition. And it should be the other way, I guess. Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. We go to Ryan Leston over at IGN. Bernie Sanders and 3 other U.S. senators have raised concerns about Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Quote, "We are deeply concerned about consolidation in the tech industry and its impact on workers," Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Cory Booker, and Sheldon Whitehouse wrote per the Wall Street Journal. According to letters sent to the FTC, the senators are worried that the acquisition could cause issues experienced by Activision Blizzard employees to be forgotten or made harder to solve. They also call out the fact that, of course, Bobby Kotick might get off scot-free, even though he's been a pretty terrible human being throughout this entire situation, based on every report you've ever read about it. So keep your eyes on that if anything's going to go with that. But yeah, obviously, I mean, Activision Blizzard and all the fucking dirtbags that fucked everything up there should be held to every standard and fucking broken rule they have, but we'll see what happens.
Do you think something happens if like more acquisition happens in terms of like if like a rumored big PlayStation acquisition happens, right? And then Xbox fires back and buys Ubisoft, and then PlayStation buys Konami and like EA or whatever, right? Like, do you think at some point Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and Cory Booker and Sheldon Whitehouse go,
don't leave Sheldon Whitehouse's name out your mouth. All right, come on. Get him in there.
You don't think Sheldon Whitehouse has the stuff to like come and be like, hey, stop it. Stop acquiring all these companies.
I, of course, am what you would define as the town idiot. I don't know much about adult things on this level, but from what I remember when Activision Blizzard stuff happened, when Microsoft was buying it, I remember early reports there and talking about it on KindaFunny Games Daily. It seemed that it wouldn't be an issue, people thought, because it's not being consolidated in one place. If it was Xbox buying everything and no one else buying other stuff, then there seems like there would be the cause for concern. But because it is Xbox buying and PlayStation buying and Tencent buying and, you know, the guys from yesterday, Quantic Dream people, they're buying Quantic Dream. NetEase, they're buying stuff. It seems like that's what's happening, and that's like cause for concern, obviously. But because multiple big fish are scooping up little fish, it's not what's going on. I think it's okay. You know what I mean? I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Kebabs on TV says it's the village, idiot, Greg. I made up my own term there, Kebabs. Like, you know
what'd you say?
I don't know if I can remember. Village
Yeah,
moron.
what he said.
Village stupid guy.
I did not catch it. I assumed you said village idiot because I wasn't paying attention. I assumed you knew what you're talking about. You're usually.
I mean, again, does it matter? You know what I mean? Does it
you
matter?
said the town idiot. Oh, that's an idiotic thing to say, Greg.
Well, Kebab says the town idiot. Yeah, but like again, it's because I live in a town. Kebabs lives in a village in his little cobblestone hobbit house. All right. He eats every day out of a wooden bowl with a wooden spoon. His fucking grandfather carved out of the tree over there, right?
Tread lightly, Greg. Villages still exist.
No, I'm very much. I'm picturing both Yoda and then hobbits. All right, I'm not talking like no. Calm down. We're not going anywhere weird with this. I don't know where Kebab lives. I'm not going. You know what I mean?
About Kebab's village specifically is what you're talking about.
Exactly, of course. Yeah, he's got the chickens roasting on a spit out there. Now that sounds delicious, but the problem is, of course, they still trade in salt and pepper. All right, spices are their currency. So this chicken bland as shit. You know what I mean? You ever had bland chicken? Nobody wants that.
Exactly. You know, let's move away.
It's terrible.
Now in here, Claim Vurium says he's probably from Kansas. No. All right. Kansas wishes they had the intellectual power to make a village. All right. You want to talk about people rubbing sticks together over there? You know what I mean? Don't even get me started. All right.
Wait, I've not listened to the KindaFunny podcast in a while. You have beef with Kansas?
Oh yeah, I got.
Have
beef
you
with
ever
Kansas.
watched the content?
Yeah.
I'm just
Not since I got hired. When I got hired, I immediately stopped.
I mean, it's a well-known IGN bit as well. Maybe not as hard there because at IGN, like I'd have to worry about some stupid, It's hard in Kansas. I understand that. Again, no power, running water, electricity. But I do know that they have cardboard over there that they write things, other people visit and they write things they've heard. So I knew eventually if I talk shit on IGN, somebody would write it in the cardboard, pass it around. They get over there, Roanoke, Kansas mayor would look at go, you can't fucking talk. You can't fucking talk. You know
for
what I
all
mean?
the best friends in Kansas, you should move. You should move,
Oh my God, get the fuck out of there. If you're somehow getting this information, this is very much a plea. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what they did or said to you, but you can, it's not like that everywhere. It's not like that everywhere. You don't have to poop in a hole and bury it everywhere. All right. You can come. There's other states in the land. You can come to them. Come and get out of there. Missouri's right there. It's fine.
Missouri, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not gonna talk shit because I know you're from Mizzou. I don't want that heat. I don't need you roasting Illinois as well. Actually, you're from Illinois, so you wouldn't do that.
And that's the thing is, they look around. There's so many great states there, and then you got Kansas, this one that just time forgot. You know what I mean?
The forgotten lands.
Forgotten lands in general, right? Yeah. Okay. Number 5 on the Rope Report. Capcom is raising its employees' base salary by 30% in Japan. This is Tom Ivan at VGC. Capcom has announced plans to raise Japanese salaries as part of wider changes to its human resources operation ahead of an expected 5th consecutive year of record profits. From the beginning of 2020. That's basically it. We're long today. That's a great move. We always talk about the horrible things happening in the video game industry. That's pretty cool. Hey, we're doing really well. We'll pay it back to the employees.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. More companies should do this. KindaFunny should do this.
Yeah. You see, you tricked me because I don't know.
Tread lightly.
I was gonna say I don't know. I was gonna make a comment, but I guess that's human resources. I don't know if I can say.
Story number 4 or 6.
Yeah, that's right. The Division 2's new mode. This is about Division 2 new mode, and I call it shitty timing. This is Paul Tassi over at Forbes. The Division 2 has taken a bit of an odd path through the live service corridor in the past few years. While it started out with a good amount of post-launch content, it effectively took an entire year off. And while many figured that Ubisoft was moving on, including announcing a spin-off free-to-play game set in the universe, that turned out not to be the case. It was announced that yes, more content for the Division 2 itself was coming, and here in year 4, we now have a look at what exactly that means. It's an odd situation, however. Though the new content is live on the PTS, that's the public test server, right now, the Division 2 is not talking about it openly or promoting it at all, really. That's because of, quote, current events, namely the war in Ukraine. And now we know why. The new Division 2 mode is called Countdown, which has armed forces assaulting/defending a nuclear power plant. I suppose that hits a bit too close to home to the realities of Russian forces taking over similar power plants in the Ukraine as we speak. The division has always hit weirdly close to home between its pandemic and then militaristic occupation of the capital. And this time things are actually less on the nose, I'd argue. But I understand why they wouldn't want to do a big push for it right now. They probably will come once it's closer to going live. Countdown has you completing a few different objectives, like securing locations and fending off enemies, first in 2 groups, then you eventually merge together as one, and all 8 players have to take on a large number of enemies, which can include hunters. You then have to extract to finish the encounter, all while being on a timer. That sounds great.
Ubisoft. Like, this is always a Ubisoft issue where it's like, yeah, Rainbow Six, what was it called before Extraction? Rainbow Six Pandemic?
Quarantine.
I mean, Rainbow Six Quarantine, like, they had a delay and changed the name of for a while because of the actual pandemic going on. This happening with the Division is, yeah, that's unfortunate as well. It seems like they keep running into this specifically.
Yeah. The most sounds cool. I'm a big Division 2 fan. I had that thing last year with my stats where I was like, could I really play that much Division? I was like, oh yeah, I did really play that much Division last year in 2021. So I'm stoked for more of that to drop. So yeah.
Are you going to play it when it drops?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We had a lot of fun with that. We'll come back to the Division 2.
Are they going to put out... Well, I guess I was going to say, are they going to put out Division 3, but they're working on Heartland still, aren't they?
Yeah, and Paul's article goes on to talk about the fact that, of course, the free-to-play Division Heartland got announced last year, and then just we haven't heard anything about it, which doesn't, and Ubisoft not afraid to cancel shit and like be quiet about shit forever. So what does that mean? Who knows? And then, of course, the fact that this content is because of the support Division 2 got last year when they're like, it's the final, final piece of content for it, and everybody played it and loved it. And they're like, oh, fuck, okay, we'll make more. We'll see. Blessing, I can't wait to see the Division 2's countdown come off the PTS and come to the LS. But that's live server. But that's so far away. If I wanted something more immediate, say what came to the mom and grab shops, where would I go?
You would go to the official list of upcoming software across each and every platform as listed by the KindaFunny Games Daily Show hosts each and every weekday.
Yeah. Out today. Diesel Punk Wars on Switch, Flat Kingdom Papers Cut Edition, all the PlayStations, all the Xbox Switch, Rotund Rebound on PC, Super Cyborg on Xbox One, Terrorbane on Switch and PC, Wizard Mike on Switch, and then Among Us gets a horse mode, and it's live only for today. It is an April Fool's, but it's not an April Fool's. Like, they're doing it. You can go play it, but then it's gone after today.
New dates. Good ones. One of the few good April Fool's jokes.
Well, because you can actually do something with it. You can actually play the game.
Exactly.
New dates for you. The State of Unreal is happening April 5th at 11 a.m. Eastern. It's the State of the Unreal Engine. You can get it on Twitch and YouTube, unrealengine.com/State of Unreal. Join us on April 5th for our State of Unreal live stream, where we'll explore what's in store for the future of games and announce some exciting news. So that's interesting. Okay, let's see what's up there. Deals of the day. I go to Kotaku, where John Walker writes, it seems an extraordinary thing for it to be a news story that 1.5 years after its release, you can buy an Xbox. But we live in extraordinary times. And right now is the first time the Xbox Series X has ever been easily available. You can just buy one, if you have a spare $500. But today, if you went to, say, Amazon or Walmart, you can just buy an Xbox Series X. Like, click the button and it gets delivered. Goodness knows how long this will last. But for now, at least, a weird sense of normality has settled into one of the aspects of our lives. So if it's still up, you can go get a Series X right now. Knock your socks off. Have some fun.
Thank you, John Walker at Kotaku. Loved you talking to the Winter Soldier.
That was again.
Thank you.
We ask people watching live on twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames to go to KindaFunny.com/you're wrong and tell us what we screw up as we screw it up, so we can set everything straight for. It's been a long week. Now I'm in my head about Dylon12 writes in and says, you said my name 100% right, and I'm fucking stoked on it. Love you guys. We love you too. Congratulations. Oh my fucking God. So it turns out that Kebabs lives in New Zealand, of course, where they filmed all the Lord of the Rings things. So he really does live in a little village where he has a little cobblestone thing where his dad made a spoon in a bowl out of the tree that his grandfather was, planted, or I don't know.
Oh, dear.
Kebabs, how hairy are your feet? You know what I mean? Are you obsessed with rings? You drink mead over there? You know what I mean? Boars and 00 has something. I'm using the last few bits of internet to let you know that while Kansas might be backwards in some things, no, then it goes off. I can't read the rest. That's sad. But I'm sure when you roll over tonight and you tell your wife, aka your sister, about it, she'll be very excited. And then Matt Mamba says Andy's first ad read is about snakes. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, what an episode of Kinda Funny Games Daily. Fuck Kansas and fuck kebabs. All right, that's what I'll say right now. I'll just get it all out there. You know what I mean? I actually was Borson.
Nothing to do with this.
Fuck Borson. Fuck everybody in Kansas who wants to talk shit on a Friday. All right, I'll just come swinging. I don't care. I'm the town idiot. Say whatever I want. Ladies and gentlemen, the fun doesn't stop here. You can stay on if you're on Twitch, twitch.tv/kindafunnygames. Mike and Tim are about to play some Kirby. Then I'm going to join Mike to play some Curse to Golf after that. Right now, though, Blessing and I are going to go back over to patreon.com/kindafunnygames, record our post show. And then, of course, next week, you'll get a banger of a cast of new people out here. Did you update this? I didn't update this.
I just updated it just now.
Thank you so much. So Monday, it'll be Blessing and Tim hosting Kinda Funny Games Daily. Tuesday, me and Gary. Wednesday, Blessing and Janet Garcia. Thursday, me and Tim. And then Friday, Blessing and Andy. Remember?
Thursday is actually Tim and Tam, I should say.
You fucking...
Sorry, I missed that one. I got all the other days.
You set me right up to knock me down. You know what I mean?
That's what I do.
Can't believe
That's what I do.
Can't believe
you're my
Kansas.
Kansas.
Don't say that. That's stuff you can't take back. The King of Halloween stuff's all fun, but like to compare me to Kansas, you know what I mean? Like, do I sound like Rocknor, the mayor over there? You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on over there. Remember, of course, new Patreon shirt up, patreon.com/kindafunnygames, patreon.com/kindafunny wrestling one. Remember, PS I Love You's live on its new day, Friday. We're having a lot of fun over here. We hope you are too. If you like us, we like you. Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.
Oh, shit.